Welcome to the CeBIT channel here at YouTube. If I could just ask you to introduce yourself and tell us what you believe global IT leaders should be doing to help the global village.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Thomas Koll. I'm the Chief Executive of Laplink Software out of Seattle, Washington in the US. It is an interesting question, what can we as IT leaders do? I think there are, two parts of the question. One is, how can we improve the information flow? How can we improve productivity all around the world? And I think IT plays a very, very important role. If we just look back 20 or 30 years, half of the globe didn't have information. Now, today, with technology, there's information. The other thing is, I think also we have to look about, the second half of the world that doesn't have the IT infrastructure. And I think there we have to help personally or as companies to improve the situations in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America. Personally, with a couple of friends, we built a refurbishing center for PCs in Uganda. And so we are bringing, PCs, used PCs from the US into the school system in Uganda so that elementary school children have the first chance to work with PCs. Now that's just a tiny bit, but I think if more companies would do that and help all the other organizations and some of the local governments, that would be great for the global village.
Okay. Can I ask you a very different question? Can you tell us what's on your list of flops and hits from the last 10 years and possibly the next 10 years?
Well, that's always, very difficult to say. I think that, for some of the tops that, I've been working on is certainly wireless messaging. Again, 10 years ago, hardly anybody was using wireless messaging, email, perhaps some SMS, but, the whole BlackBerry phenomenon, that is, something in the last 10 years. I also think that software as a service, has, was a big, success in the last 10 years. And of course, everybody has to say that iPod and iTunes has changed behavior, at least among a lot of the young people. When it comes to, flops, that's always more difficult. But I think that, some of the areas we have seen, I remember very distinctly, the whole notion of, the network is the computer, diskless workstation. And the whole notion that intelligence resides in the network and not on your personal computer, that was, pushed back from the users because they want to have the computing power themselves. They want to be mobile with their computing power, and they don't want to be just tethered, to a network.
So what's going to be the hit or the hits, do you think, in the next decade? Well, or maybe even less time than that, because a decade is a long way away in computing terms.
Well, if we would know that, we would start investing, aggressively in that. But what I would hope to, I think that social networking, that has started very successfully in the last couple of years will be a big hit. I would hope that some technologies like battery life, gets addressed in a way because the need is there. And when the need is there, usually the industry responds. Today, none of our wonderful computers can last more than a couple hours. So where are the battery technologies, that make it happen? And I think that, wireless is already so much part of our life, but we still haven't seen, the wireless payments, wireless interactions. I think that was already a prediction for the last 10 years, is that we just go with our device to the cash register and pay. Well, that hasn't happened. But I think, that is, to come. It's on its way. And the last thing I would say is, the last 10 years, again, search, Google, Yahoo was a big phenomenon. But what it is, you get a selection from information. And if you take the notion of what Wikipedia was doing, is that you actually get knowledge for what asked for. So I think search will be much more related to content in the future, where you said, I want to know what this is, and you just don't get hits. You might get much more content oriented answers. Perhaps more like a encyclopedia or something like that. But a kind of a mixture of Wikipedia and Google is certainly something that we need, because to have all the hits doesn't do much.
Thank you very much for those very interesting answers. Lots of food for thought, and I wish you a very enjoyable conference.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.